Hello, everyone. Happy Silksong Day to all who celebrate. Uh, it feels completely surreal that we're finally here because I've been waiting over 6 years for today. Um, it's about an hour and 30 minutes until the game releases for me. I think it releases at the same time for everyone, though, so that's not really special. But at any rate, what I figured I'd do to celebrate was beat the Pantheon of Hallownest in the original Hollow Knight because I hadn't done that uh, back when I played it in 2019. I played it very late 2018 and it kind of carried over into 2019. I think it was like December 2018, so it's like a good 3 months where I was playing this game and still thought we were getting the Hornet DLC. I have some coffee. I just woke up. I'm pretty tired. I was like a kid on Christmas, just waiting. Couldn't sleep. But yeah, I was playing it 2018, 2019, and this coffee's quite good. But I was playing it. And I got all of the achievements besides the Pantheon. I think my last achievement that I got was in May. And I told myself I would just wait for Silksong to come out before I did the Pantheon of Hallownest. Wow, I'm really getting my ass beat by these venge flies here. I recorded this last night before I went to bed because I wanted to make sure I actually got the achievement on Silksong Day and before Silksong came out, because I had been waiting like 6 years to do it. I would hate to record a commentary while actively doing this because this is like really hard to do. But yeah, back in the day I told myself, okay, well, I'll just wait to do this because I think that would be fun. I'll wait to do the Pantheon of Hallownest until Silksong comes out, because I really thought it was coming out imminently, and that turned out not to be true. It took a lot longer than I thought it would, or I guess anyone thought it would. I doubt even Team Cherry thought it would take as long as it did. But at any rate, it's finally here. It's happening in an hour. I think the track list has been uploaded to Steam, and it has spoilers in it. I haven't looked at them. I don't want to look at them. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind if you're trying to avoid. I have Silksong muted on everything. I'm just going to go dark probably after I upload this, and not touch social media again until I'm finished with the game. Probably like 3 times over. But I guess I just want to talk a little bit about Hollow Knight and what I've been doing for like the past 6-7 years, because so much has happened in that time. It's really hard to believe. Also, just side note, but man, Vengefly King and Gru's mother are so annoying in the first part of the Pantheon 5 because their arenas are different. And you have to fight 2 Vengefly Kings. It's way more annoying than you would ever think like those bosses could be. Those bosses were pretty annoying already, but not a terribly big deal. But at any rate, I remember I played Hollow Knight initially because I saw Donkey's video, The Good Year. I think a lot of people who initially played Hollow Knight probably played it because of that video, because he was one of the first really mainstream guys to figure out or find out about Hollow Knight and tell people about it. I think that video almost has 10 million views now. But yeah, I remember, I was like a teenager. I didn't have a lot of money, so it was just kind of a blessing to have a game like this that was so large and so replayable and only cost like $15. I think I got it for like 10 because I got it on a sale. So absolutely a steal. I think I have like nearly 200 hours in the game overall. On this save file, I think I have 115. I think it shows at the end. Maybe 155. I don't remember. But I think 115, not 155. But at any rate, this coffee is quite good. Also, I'm trying to think of what else to say. I haven't done a commentary like this before. It's always been something I wanted to do. Let's just talk over footage, but I'm not good at it. Although I'll talk to myself all the time, just for fun, so I figured, why not do it for a video? Look, it's Hornet. We're gonna be playing as her soon. Isn't it fucking weird? Isn't that really surreal? Doesn't that not feel real? That we're gonna be playing as Hornet? By the time, if you're watching this, I mean, you've probably will have already played as Hornet, so it won't be that weird, but from my perspective in time, it's pretty weird. All the noises, look at all these funny noises. Wow. Man. Speaking of Hornet, the knight in Hollow Knight is pretty fun to control, but some of these bosses, it's like, it feels like your movement is just too simple. It feels like it's almost too simple to properly deal with some of these people. Gorb isn't a great example of this. Gorb is like fine. It's just the arena's kind of tough here. But something like Markov, the Markov that's like specifically in the Pantheon, is really like a pain. It almost feels like that knight is too limited to properly deal with someone like Markov. So I'm really excited for how agile Hornet is going to be and what they're going to do with the bosses. So I think that was kind of... I love Hollow Knight, but I think the bosses, at least some of them, are kind of a weak point in how simple they are. And in the Pantheon, they try to make them a bit harder by, you know, having you be on free pillars. And, I don't know, it's not like that fun to fight Gorb on free pillars. It's not that fun to fight Markov on like 5 little platforms, you know? But most of the bosses are good. It's just something I was kind of thinking about. Because Pantheon 5 really kind of ups the ante a bit with some of these bosses. Well, some of the dream bosses doesn't even bother to edit at all. Especially the easier ones. So the easier ones are just as easy. And then Markov is just way more difficult. There's like a final stretch later in the video, I mean, you'll see it. That's insanely difficult with all the bosses they have lined up. If you've done the Pantheon, you probably know what I'm talking about. I completely forgot before I did this, because I did like some practice. Excuse me, I'm just getting a sip. But I did some practice where I fought all the bosses in the Hall of Gods a little bit. But I forgot that it's not just about being able to beat the bosses, it's also the way they have certain bosses lined up in the Pantheon of Hallownest is like really rough. And that's probably the roughest example, but I'll point it out when we get to it. It's more towards the end. But at any rate, with Silksong, I don't know what you guys' predictions are, but I know everyone thinks stuff like, oh, the final boss is gonna be, what is it? Not Abyss Lord, is it the Shade Lord? Because at the end of Pantheon of Hallownest, you have the ending of the Shade Lord. Maybe I should wait to talk about that, but I don't think I'm gonna have the time at the end, because it's a relatively quick sequence. So, I'll just talk about it right now. But, with the Shade Lord, you see him at the end of this. He comes into being after you beat Absolute Radiance, and depending on how you... I guess it just depends on whether or not you give the guy the Delicate Flower or not. He gets unleashed in the Hallownest. I know a lot of people think Silksong is going to be a prequel, but I really hope it's not. I really want an explanation or continuation of what happens at the end of this ending specifically. And I doubt we're going to get it, but man, I really want it. I really want to know what the hell is up with the Shade Lord and the Delicate Flower. At the very least, I think we'll get to learn more about why the Delicate Flower can just neutralize an ancient abyssal god, I guess. We'll learn. We'll figure it out. Because there's so much... There are a lot of white flowers or pale flowers used in the marketing material for Silksong, so it's hard for me to imagine it wouldn't come up at all. But yeah, this is a pretty funny bit. You think you're gonna fight Tiso and he gets smashed by the Brooding Malik. However you say it. I forgot already, because I have no respect for that boss, to be honest. I think that boss can go be blown up, for all I care. This is one of the God Master exclusive bosses. God Master is a really fun DLC, but I think I've probably played it too much instead of just playing the game normally and fighting the bosses normally. I have so much time spent on my original save file over the years, just from like fighting the bosses. I'm not sure why I'm pausing so much. I'm not sure why past me was pausing all the time. But at any rate, pretty fun fight. I like this fight a lot. It's kind of like the Watcher Knights, but better and cooler, because they have a more advanced moveset and not constantly coming back over and over. But another thing I wanted to talk about is just everything that has happened in between Silksong announcement and Silksong release. Like, it's been over 6 years. I was in high school when it was announced. And I remember I was like waiting for other stuff too, not just Silksong. I remember I was a big fan of Elder Scrolls. I still kind of am, but I haven't really played the games in a while. I'll definitely play Elder Scrolls 6 when it comes out. I remember, I think it was 2018 E3, it gets announced, Elder Scrolls 6, and that was a game I really thought would be out by now, and it isn't. And that's just so crazy to me. I know they have Shirley Curry, I think it's her name, but people call her Skyrim Grandma. And she scanned, they like scanned her face or something. Like how, and people joke Kojima wants to scan everyone in the world. Instead of him scanning her, it's Todd Howard who got to scan her, but she's supposed to be in that game. And I honestly don't even know if she's gonna live to see it, which is kind of sad to think about. What's also kind of sad to think about is, after playing Starfield, I'm not sure how good it's gonna be, which is a shame, because I do still kind of love Bethesda games, you know. Still do kind of love them. And I was so excited for Starfield. I was like really convinced this would be like Bethesda coming back full force. And man, I wanted to love that game, and I didn't even finish it. I didn't even finish the main quest like once. Because, I don't know, as cool as the shipbuilding and whatnot was, the world and the characters just did not grab me, and the quest didn't grab me at all. I remember I spent all of this effort to make like a piracy ship, so I could do like smuggling, and all the smuggling quests you get to do are like the most boring quests in the world. So it really was not. It did not feel like a good payoff, you know. Felt like a lot of work and then very little payoff. And it kind of has me concerned for Elder Scrolls 6. I'm not really sure if I think it's going to be good. Also, another thing I'm really concerned about is I remember back in, I think it was 2016, Todd Howard had said, oh, with Elder Scrolls 6, we're holding off on it because I have an idea for it that current technology can't do. And part of me is really concerned that what he was talking about back then, because I know in Skyrim, one of the big things that game did was add Radiant quests, so it's almost like an MMO where you can do like infinite quests technically, right? I'm really worried that the technological advancement he wanted was to have infinite AI generated quests. Like, obviously AI, the way it is today, didn't exist back in 2016, but part of me is worried that that's what Todd Howard was thinking of. He was like, oh, I really hope there's some way to infinitely generate quests, so I can make infinite slop in Elder Scrolls 6. That's what I want. But yeah, right here, just side note, but it's so cool. They just dodge attacks with Shape of Moon. That's really fun. You could also do it with Mantis Lords, which I think you'll see later when I fight Sisters of Battle, which is the updated version of Mantis Lords for the Pantheon. But yeah, I'm just concerned that Elder Scrolls 6, it's going to be infinite AI quests. That's what Todd Howard was talking about. He does have a SpaceX rocket on his desk, I remember from the Starfield videos. So it's going to be infinite AI quests powered by Grok. And it's going to be ass. That's what I'm worried about. At least we have the older games. I liked all the games that I played, because I played Morrowind, and I played Oblivion, and I played Skyrim. 1 second, I'm gonna take a drink. But played Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, and Elder Scrolls Online. I played a little bit of Daggerfall. I would love to finish it. I have Daggerfall Unity installed. I was kind of waiting for Daggerfall Unity to be finished, I think, because I tried playing the original version of Daggerfall, and it doesn't run well. My save got bugged out in like 100 different ways by the time I decided to call it quits when I was trying to play Daggerfall. And I still love Morrowind a lot. That's like one of my favorite games ever. I love Oblivion. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Skyrim. It's like fun, but also it's kind of boring. Feels like mechanically not as interesting as the other games. But it is a fun game. I don't hate it as much as I used to. Because I loved it when I first played it, and I was like, oh, this isn't that good. And then I've kind of come around on it, which I think is kind of funny. Kind of won me over. I think Starfield probably helped win me over, because Starfield is a lot worse than Skyrim is. At least Skyrim is kind of interesting. It has like a proper world to explore. Oh yeah, but there we go. Shape of Moon, dodging Mantis Lords twice in a row. Really sick. I guess all legs just don't have a hitbox, which makes sense. But at any rate, something that came out in between Silksong and announcement and Silksong release is Elden Ring. I hadn't played a From Software game until after I played Hollow Knight, and I think the reason really was because, well, I thought they were too hard, and I played Hollow Knight, and I remembered, again, fucking Donkey, Donkey was like, Hollow Knight, it's kind of just 2D Dark Souls. And I was like, well, I fucking love Hollow Knight. I gotta play Dark Souls if it's like Hollow Knight. So I played Dark Souls 1 during 2020 in the middle of the COVID pandemic. And Dark Souls 1 to this day is my favorite game ever. I think I'll probably die and not play a game I like more than Dark Souls 1. I doubt From Software can even beat it. And they've come close, because Elden Ring is kind of like, I wouldn't say it's the greatest game ever made, but if you told me you thought it was the greatest game ever made, I wouldn't be able to blame you at all. It feels like the video game. Like, it feels like the video game everyone was dreaming to make. Like, if you're like a kid, you're dreaming of like this crazy ass game with this huge world and 100 billion enemies and shit. Like, that's the game. I think it was John Romero who did like a lot of work on Doom and other id Software games back in the 90s. He made Quake, and the original pitch for Quake, he said, was very similar in concept to what Elden Ring turned out to be. Because it was going to be like this big fantasy RPG where you ran around and killed a bunch of cool monsters and shit. And he was like, yeah, Elden Ring is kind of just a game we wanted to make but couldn't. It feels like it's probably that way for a lot of other people. Elden Ring is just a crazy-ass game. But yeah, Elden Ring came out, well, it was announced 2019 at E3, so a little bit after Silksong was announced. Then we had that hiatus. It was really crazy being like a Dark Souls fan and a Hollow Knight fan at the same time for like a good 2 years, where you just had no news about Silksong or Elden Ring, and it felt like neither of those games were coming out. And I know, man, I really miss how the Silksong and the Elden Ring subreddits specifically used to be. It was really funny. We had like the Game Awards, and people, we were all watching it together. And you had shit like, you had like the Whoopers. I feel like maybe someone who watches this would know what I'm talking about. But I think the gist of it, from what I remember, was at the Game Awards, they had a bunch of Pokemon Go ads with Whoopers. And so people started posting Whoopers to like the Elden Ring and the Silksong subreddits out of like frustration that we were seeing Whoopers and not Hollow Knight or Elden Ring. With Elden Ring, it was like a really big tease because I think it won Most Anticipated Game twice in a row, so it was there. Both years that it wasn't. It's just, it was there as like a little mention, and you didn't get any news. But yeah, then Elden Ring got release date announcement, and it came out, and I don't think anybody knew how big it was going to be. I was shocked. I still can't believe it sold 30 million copies. To me, that's kind of shocking. But then we had to wait again for Shadow of the Erdtree to come out. That was like a 2-year wait, something like that. And Shadow of the Erdtree comes out, and then a spin-off game comes out, Elden Ring Night Rain. I don't know why I keep pausing. It's kind of frustrating me that I keep pausing in my footage. Let me try and skip. Oh, no, I didn't pause for that long. Never mind. Whatever. Anyway, but with Elden Ring, we got like a whole game, and then a DLC, and then a spin-off. And I remember waiting for both Elden Ring and Hollow Knight Silksong to come out, and feeling like both of those games would never come out. But then one of them did, and the other one didn't. And I feel like I've been like not super hyped for Silksong for most of the time I've been waiting, but like just kind of waiting, like they'll come out when it comes out, you know. I know a lot of people, especially on like the Silksong subreddit, are kind of losing their minds, acting like Team Cherry has forsaken them and blew them up and smashed their car and slashed their tires in real life because of the lack of communication and whatnot. Which, I don't know, I get it, but also I don't think it was that big of a deal. Honestly, I'm kind of envious of Team Cherry. I feel like they have it figured out. Where it's honestly good to just live your own life away from the internet and just do what you want to do instead of posting on Twitter all the time. You know? So to that degree, I think that Team Cherry really has it all figured out. And I kind of aspire to be that way. Maybe not to be as non-communicative as them, but, you know. But also, another thing is, I think I mentioned I had been in high school when Silksong was announced. So I graduated high school, then COVID happens, you know. I think COVID happened like my final year of high school. I was like homeschooled my whole life. I remember I almost did my final senior year of high school in person at like my local high school. And I kind of just decided no, because I'll be going to college anyway, probably. So I might as well just wait if I want to, like, you know, talk to people and stuff, you know, every day. And that was the right call because COVID happened my final year of high school. And I probably would have been so pissed off. I would have been insanely pissed off if I had to put, because I would have had to put in all this extra work, right? Do all these extra like classes and stuff to do my final senior year in a public high school. So I'm really glad I didn't and I held off. And then 2021 is fall. I live in Louisiana, so fucking Hurricane Ida hit, and that was a really bad hurricane. Like, we'll get hit by hurricanes every now and again, but that was like really, really bad to be hit by that one. I know Katrina is the one everyone thinks of, and that was really bad for certain parts of the country. But I kind of remember, I was like very young when Katrina happened, but specifically where I live, Katrina didn't hit us that bad. Ida, on the other hand, was like a much more powerful storm, and I think the infrastructure, at least in like New Orleans and such, is a bit better, I would imagine. So, like, overall, no one was hit as hard as New Orleans was during Katrina for Ida, but Ida was just a much worse storm overall, in that it was like Category 4. I think it might have peaked at Category 5. And if you go outside in like my area, even today, the area still hasn't fully recovered from Ida, which is just kind of crazy. Like, there's just a lot of buildings that are still damaged or like closed entirely from being damaged by Ida. So the area just hasn't really fully recovered from it. But that was, when that hit, that was like my first semester of college. That was quite rough, because we couldn't go to classes in person, because we had like just started, like, because, you know, COVID happened. Okay, we're going back to classes, and then a fucking hurricane hits, so actually you can't. That was really rough. And I remember we had no power, I think for like a week or two. I think it might have just been a week. But we didn't have internet for like a month. So we couldn't go to classes. So we had to submit everything on the internet, but I didn't have internet for a month. So what they did was they gave everyone these little, it was like little, not routers, but it was like little Wi-Fi hotspots. I think it was like, I don't even know if it's like a megabyte of like upload or download speed. It was like really low. It was like in the kilobytes, I think. But it was like basically infinite use until you got your internet back. So that's how I had to upload all my assignments or use the internet. So I was lucky in that sense. At least I had some internet access. But man, it was so slow. But at any rate, made it through that. That was probably like, I don't know if that was my roughest semester of college, but it was definitely the weirdest one. The coursework wasn't that hard. Side note here, but what's really funny is I hadn't fought a normal grim in like years. I think this is one of the few bosses I didn't even bother to fight for my practice of the Pantheon. I only fought Nightmare King. So I think he actually kind of screws me up a bit more than Nightmare King later on in the video. Nightmare King is not that bad once you beat him, because I feel like he's one of those fights where like either you know it or you don't. You either know it and you beat him, or you don't know it and you get your ass beat. So if you beat him, you just kind of know how to beat him. So he's really not that bad if you can beat him. But this guy is kind of speeding my ass because I hadn't fought him. And he's like a bit slower, and that's like throwing me off. But at any rate, with college, I think my roughest semester was probably my last, which was the spring semester this year, because I was getting a degree in computer information systems, which I'm not sure if I'm gonna regret. Something I'm kind of concerned about is all the AI shit. Not just that's the AI stuff that's going to be used in the workforce, but also the fact that a lot of the students, like starting in like my second to last semester, were all using like ChatGPT, and the professors, at least in the business department, were kind of all encouraging them to do it. And so I'm just kind of thinking to myself, I wonder if that will like devalue people's degrees because they won't know how to do anything because they just skipped all the learning with ChatGPT. So when people see a degree, it's like, okay, well, this means nothing because you probably just skipped it all with ChatGPT. I think that's probably not really something that's going to bite you in the ass right now, but when that AI bubble bursts, I'm kind of confident it will. I know I saw Facebook. I think they downscaled their AI division after spending a shit ton of money to build it up. But I remember seeing that, and I think there's like a couple other statistics I saw, like something like 95% of AI startups or like proposals don't get followed through on, which is really crazy. But it feels like the only thing that AI is really good at is cheating on your homework for you. And so I think, I don't know, a lot of people in the future are going to be like, well, did you actually learn? Like if you graduated at the time I graduated, are people going to be like, well, did you actually learn, or did you just ChatGPT everything? It was only like the last year of college for me, but still, it's probably gonna be worse for people after me. You know, I'm kind of glad I'm not doing college. I miss college. I really liked it. I was good at it. I enjoyed it a lot, but I'm kind of glad to not be doing college because with all the AI shit, it's like, I don't know, it's not really the same. Kind of stopped being the same. I just thought it was so annoying how some of the teachers would kind of push you to do assignments where it's like, go to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT write you something. And I was like, that's one of the few things I was good at. Like, not few things, but something I've always been good at is writing like student papers. There were like a couple times I had to do it, especially in psychology, because I got a psychology minor. My motto was, not that I'm not interested in computers, but do the thing that will probably make you money as your major, and then do your interest as a minor. So that's kind of why I got a psychology minor instead of a major. But part of me is wondering if I should have just done psychology as my major. I guess we'll see. The economy is just really quite bad at the moment. So, will I find a job? I don't know. And frankly, I didn't think I would be wondering all of these questions. I didn't think I would be thinking about all of this before Silksong came out. I thought Silksong would be out a lot sooner. I thought I would be in college when Silksong came out, and I'm not in college anymore. But yeah, my last semester of college, I think I got distracted from the point I was going to make. But the point I was going to make is it was rough because I thought I was only going to have to do like 12 hours of classes, and I had to do 18 because I don't know if it was my advisor or what, but somebody at the department screwed up, and I think it was everyone in my majors who's like supposed to graduate with my major kind of got fucked over by it, where whatever form they were using for advising didn't list 2 classes that you needed. Like, I think you needed another 300 hour and another 400 hour level. Not 300 and 400 hour, but like 300 4-hour level class, I mean. You need like an extra one of each. And so I was like notified in like last December, hey, you're not going to graduate with your current listed classes. You're going to have to change that. So I had to do this really fucked up schedule where I was just at school like all day, like almost every day. And then on Thursdays, I was literally at school all day. And I had a job at the time. I had to quit it just to finish because it was just too much. And I had like a really rough class where one of my teachers was like, I don't hate her, but she was like a total hard ass. But yeah, it was overall just very rough because of that. And I thought it was going to be easy. One of my classes, when I had 4 classes, was like a film class, which normally isn't something I would take. But I was like, you know what, I'll just make my last semester really easy. And watch, I think it was like watching Hitchcock films. I still would like to watch some Hitchcock films on my own. But yeah, let's watch some Hitchcock films. Maybe a little bit of Spielberg. I think someone else. And that would have been fun, but I had to drop it and do something else that was a lot harder. Because I needed the extra credits. But, I don't know. I'm glad to be done. I miss it. I miss it for sure, but I'm glad to be done with it. Yeah, side note here, but that right there, Wing Nosk, was like a Pantheon exclusive. Pretty funny moment when you first see it. You think it's like some new Hornet thing. And this right here is Yoda. This is just Bug Yoda. Man, I haven't talked this long in quite a while. My throat kind of hurts. I should have brought more water. Because we still have like half of this stuff to go. I'm trying to think of... I don't know, I've been so out of Hollow Knight lore. But I've been watching a bit of Mossbag. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of Mossbag hate recently, and I think it's because Mossbag's humor is very like Zoomer in 2020 or whatever, right? Because his videos are very old. So there's lots of people watching them now. Because he's like the top Hollow Knight lore guy, and they're getting into Hollow Knight, so people are like, hey, you should watch Mossbag. And a lot of people are like, this sucks. This guy's not funny. I hate this guy. And it's not like the funniest thing in the world, but I was listening to those, and I was kind of cracking up with how monotone his voice is and how he'll deliver some of his jokes. And also it's just kind of a nostalgic throwback, I guess, but I did watch his newest video breaking down like the Silksong trailer, and I think the thing I'm the most excited about is not even like a frame from the trailer as much as the implication when they drop the title, not the title but the release date, because that's like void. I was like so concerned, I think that was like my biggest concern with Silksong, is that they would never touch void again, because that's such an interesting topic that I think they really could expand more on. And I remember being so worried, like, oh, they're just never gonna elaborate on like anything. And it really seems like that's such a tease. That's such a tease to just have void at the very end of the trailer. It even makes like the abyss, like the sound that you hear when you go into the abyss in Hollow Knight. You like hear it in the trailer. So that to me is like confirmation. We're getting like new abyss lore. They're not just forgetting about it. And I know what it's like to be excited for a new entry in the series, giving you new lore. Shadow of the Erdtree, I was so excited for all the new lore, and I think Shadow of the Erdtree is great, but it really could have done more, I think, with the lore. I don't know how many of you know what I'm talking about, because I haven't really posted a lot of, Elden Ring from Software stuff. Most of the people watching this will probably be here for Hollow Knight, or because of my Elder Scrolls videos I posted years ago. But Shadow of the Erdtree was like really, really good, but lore-wise kind of disappointing. I didn't think the lore was bad, but we either didn't get enough, or some of what they revealed didn't feel set up. Like the final boss specifically did not feel set up. To me, it still feels like a fake Garden of Eyes boss, if you know what Garden of Eyes is. It's like this modder who makes all these like fake bosses using like they're mostly like reskins of other bosses, but it's one of those things where it doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't feel like it's a real thing. It feels like it's a mod. The final boss specifically. The music is very good though. That's probably the only reason why it doesn't entirely feel like a mod. It's that the music is fucking nuts for that fight. Speaking of music, I think I mentioned the track list for Silksong is on Steam, so you could just go read it and see all the spoilers, I guess, if you want to. I haven't, but I do know it's like 50 free tracks, which is, I think, over double Hollow Knight, at least the original one, because the original Hollow Knight had 26 tracks, not counting the DLC. And keep in mind, the Hollow Knight soundtrack didn't even have all of the songs that were in Hollow Knight. Like, it doesn't have the Colosseum song. There are certain ambient tracks that are just not there. And then there are some areas that just don't have music. So that to me, that's 26 songs. That's not even all of them. And then Silksong is like 53. That to me just kind of implies Silksong is going to be really, really big. It'll be like... This is probably getting my hopes up too much, but I'm expecting like an Elden Ring level game where it's just way bigger than anyone thinks it's going to be. And it's just constantly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I remember playing Elden Ring for the first time, and the really nuts thing about your first Elden Ring playthrough is that that game just does not end. That is like 3 games, and then Shadow of the Erdtree is like another game and a half on top of it. And it's probably getting my hopes up too much. What probably took Silksong so long? I know they said like, oh yeah, it took so long because we were having fun. But part of it also was they really wanted to polish it as much as they could. So Silksong probably won't have as much content. Well, it'll have more content than base game Hollow Knight, but maybe not like double, right? What will probably happen is it'll be a little bit more than Hollow Knight, and then that content will be very polished, because again, some of these bosses, I had mentioned this earlier in the video, but some of the bosses in Hollow Knight are not that great. They're like kind of whatever. I feel like with Hollow Knight, Silksong, they're probably going to be like, we want to make every single boss really, really good. And that's why it took so long. It's just to apply that level of polish and detail to absolutely everything. And then there's the fact that Hornet is just much more complicated than a Knight. She's got way more moves. She has those crests. She has all these tools. I think that'll alleviate one of the biggest complaints about Hollow Knight, which is that the upgrades come at too slow of a pace, which never bothered me. I think a lot of people weren't bothered by it because they hadn't played a Metroidvania before. And I was definitely the case where I hadn't played one before, so I was simply not used to how fast the pace of a Metroidvania usually is. Metroidvanias are usually not this long and slow paced. So there's kind of a divide, I think, where you have like all these Zoomers who haven't played Metroidvanias besides Hollow Knight, and it's like their first one, so they have no real expectations of how fast they should be getting stuff. And then you have, I guess, like people who have played a lot of Metroid or Castlevania games, and they expect the games to be kind of short and throw upgrades at you. I remember this was like a big point of contention back in the day. You had this game called Ori and the Blind Forest, which is really good game. But it's a Metroidvania made by Moon Studios, and the CEO of Moon Studios, I think he's like Thomas Mahler? I don't remember his last name, how to say it, but he's kind of a dick. He's kind of a stupid asshole that no one likes. But the games his studio makes are quite good, because the people who work there are very talented. I know for Ori 2, they had a guy who made the levels for fucking Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze working on that game, which is crazy. It kind of emphasizes how quality that game's levels are if you haven't played it. Because Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is like... I don't say maybe more people have played Ori 2 than Tropical Freeze. I really don't know. But my point is the level design is very high. Those games are very good. You should play Ori if you haven't. But at any rate, I remember when Hollow Knight came out, the CEO, he kind of talked about it. He was kind of like shitting on Hollow Knight. He didn't like it very much. And the contention was that it was too slow. It didn't have enough upgrades. I think Team Cherry responded in a very professional way to it. I don't remember exactly what they said. You could probably find it if you'd like. But at any rate, when Ori 2 came out, that was like 2020, so 3 years after Hollow Knight. The first one came out 2015, so 2 years before. But Ori 2 kind of borrows a lot of ideas from Hollow Knight. Not ideas that are only in Hollow Knight, but ideas that Hollow Knight borrowed from other games, and then Ori 2 kind of borrowed a lot of those ideas. And I remember a lot of people were pointing that out because it was so funny that the CEO of Moon Studios didn't like Hollow Knight so publicly. But then you play Ori 2 and it's like, oh wow, this is like really similar to Hollow Knight. I remember he was like kind of really pissed off that Ori 2 was being compared to Hollow Knight so much because he didn't really like it. And I think there's some merit to the idea of them just getting their ideas from the same source. Like, for example, there's like a system in Ori 2 that's very similar to like Charms, right, in Hollow Knight. And one of the defenses for Ori 2 that I think the CEO gave specifically was they had that prototyped before Hollow Knight ever come out. Which I believe, it's not like a unique system really. Um, but it's just kind of funny how that works. It's just kind of funny how it all worked out in the end. But yeah, Ori 2, I need to platinum that game at some point. So I remember playing it on like a really shitty laptop, and it didn't run very well, but I still played it anyway. So now that I have a good computer, it probably would be really fun to play it. But yeah, that's a really good game to play if you want to play more Metroidvanias after Silksong and Hollow Knight, and you haven't played a lot more. Another really good one are the Blasphemous games. The first one especially is very good. I like the sequel, but it's not as stark, I guess. The first one felt a lot bolder and more interesting. The sequel is very good though. There's some other ones. I guess you could play some Metroid games. I played Zero Mission. I really liked Zero Mission. I need to play Symphony of the Night still. I have not played Symphony of the Night, or any Castlevania to completion at least. That needs to change. What else? I'm trying to think of other Metroidvanias. Gato Roboto is like a short little one where you're like a cat in like a mech suit. And it's like a really short game, and which is more in line with what Metroid games are supposed to be, or Metroidvanias are supposed to be. I know Zero Missions only took me like 5 hours or something to beat. I think the other Metroid games, like Metroid Dread, I think it's like a maybe 10-hour game or something like that. Because they're supposed to be like very replayable more than anything. But I guess speaking of Metroidvania, something kind of interesting is Team Cherry, I think, never really called Hollow Knight a Metroidvania. It is inspired by like Metroid and Castlevania and that kind of thing, but I think their real inspirations, like the games they really cite as being inspirations, or shit like Zelda 2 and shit, I can't remember the name of it. It's like another adventure game for the NES. I don't remember the name of it, but that was like another one. I think if you watch the making, like I think Mossbag has a video about the making of Hollow Knight where he mentions it. So if you want to know what it is, you can go watch that video. I don't remember off the top of my head. But it's like really old games like that. As opposed to, I mean, I guess Metroid games and Castlevania games are pretty old at this point, but it was games like that, really, as opposed to Metroidvanias, I think that really inspired them. But I guess it's just kind of interesting, the creative process. There's this quote I really like that's, good artists create, great artists steal, and I think Hollow Knight is a lot of stealing. There's like a funny interview where they basically just say as much, like, yeah, they're asked, like, where do you get all these ideas? And I forget which one of them said it, but it was like, one of the Team Cherry guys was like, yeah, stealing, that's where you get your ideas. That's kind of true. Even something like Lord of the Rings takes a lot of inspiration from, you know, classic mythology and shit, you know. There's nothing really new under the sun. So, I guess my point in this ramble is, Markov fucking sucks. That's the point. And if there's a boss as annoying as him, I'm gonna blow myself up. Please no Markov type boss in Silksong. But yeah, this is the part I was talking about earlier, where I said, yeah, there's a part in the Pantheon that's just really, really tough because of how the bosses are lined up. I think it starts with Markov, and then you have to fight Grey Prince Zote immediately after. This was the most stressful Grey Prince Zote fight of my whole life. Because I started at half health and I'm at 2 health already. I love Grey Prince Zote. He's one of the best bosses in the game. But he's really not... I don't know, it's like he's very similar to Malekith from Elden Ring, if you've played it. Where like the first phase of Malekith, the Beast Clergyman part, is really like... when you first fight it, it's really hard to understand how you're supposed to deal with it. and then at some point it clicks. And Grey Prince Zote is very much that way. Where his attack patterns are so weird, because he's like just flailing around. It's not like real attacks, you know? So it makes it kind of hard to deal with him, because it's just so atypical. But once you understand it, it's not so bad. But yeah, I was doing this fight at like 2 HP, which is really scary because the bombs do 2 hearts of damage. So I was like really stressing the hell out fighting Zote here. But yeah, I had completely forgotten. It's so mean that they make you fight Zote after Markov. And it only gets meaner from here. Because the next boss is way harder. I ran out of water. I might pause. I'll edit it out when I do, but I'll probably pause and get some water in a second. After Zote. But I feel like in every playthrough of Hollow Knight I do after this initial one, because this is on my initial save file still. I had done a couple, but I think I always just left Zote to die. Fuck Zote. Okay, so I'm back and I got some water. Man, this is what I'm talking about. It's so mean. I had completely forgotten that they make you fight Failed Champion immediately after Grey Prince Zote and Radiant Markov, and I can't believe I made it through on my first try doing this in like years. I had done a few Pantheon runs, I think, earlier in the day, but I had made it to like the Collector, and I think I died to a Primal Aspid in the Collector boss fight because I didn't equip Unbreakable Strength. Pro tip for the Collector, equip Unbreakable Strength and you can one-shot all the shit he throws at you, including the Primal Aspids, which is like the most important part of that fight. You can just bully him if you have Unbreakable Strength. And it's also good for everything else anyway. So yeah, but this was the first time I had done this part in years, because I had made it to Absolute Radiance, and then fought Absolute Radiance in Hall of Gods, but this part specifically I hadn't done in a very long time. I completely forgot about it. Failed Champion is so scary, which is really funny because False Knight is not scary at all. False Knight is so easy. Failed Champion is like really scary. The dream versions of, like, I guess not the main trio of bosses, but like I guess like False Knight, Broken Vessel, and Soul Master. The easiest one normally is of course False Knight, and the hardest one is maybe, I don't know if Broken Vessel is the hardest one, but that's the one you're gonna fight after Soul Master usually, right? So you fight them in the order of False Knight, Soul Master, not Lost Kin, but Broken Vessel, and then you probably fight Lost Kin immediately because you'll have the Dream Nail by that point. And then you'll probably figure, oh, maybe I can go fight these other ones. But then Soul Master is like maybe a bit easier than Lost Kin. Or maybe not a bit easier, I think it's a bit harder. I don't know, they're about the same. But at any rate, the point is, False Knight is the easiest one, and Failed Champion is way harder. It's really funny how hard it is. I remember fighting that boss for the first time and just being appalled at the 2 masks of damage that he deals. But yeah, this is probably the least mean part of this whole part, actually, fighting Nightmare King. Because Nightmare King is... he's hard, but he's not that bad. I think I only get hit once, you know, in this whole fight. He comes later on in it. But Nightmare King is not as scary. He's scary if, like, you get out of rhythm. You can just be hit over and over again and die. But if you're in rhythm, you're like fine. I think after this it's just Pure Vessel and then Absolute Radiance. The Absolute Radiance fight in particular that I got, I'm really proud of. It's really nuts. You'll see. But, I really like the escalation of the Pantheon of Hallownest, where at first, like, you have everyone, like, there's like hundreds of guys watching you fight Vengeful, Fly, or whatever the fuck its name is. And by the end, it's just the main Godseeker guy watching you fight the really important bosses. I don't know if you would really call Grim important. He's important to me. I think he's not that important. I don't really feel like he fits in the rest of the Hollow Knight lore. But also, it's been a long time since I've fought a lot of that before. Maybe we'll see from the latest stuff in Silksong. I would be curious. Maybe he'll just show, like, straight up, because the whole point of Grim is that he gets reborn, like the little Grim child. So maybe Grim will show up, and we'll have to fight him again. It'll be even harder. At any rate, he feels like they just wanted to have Bug Dracula. I'm not complaining. Bug Dracula is cool. That reminds me, when I was fighting Nightmare King, I was talking about how ridiculous it is. They make you fight. They hit you with that Markov, failed champion, true combo. One of my friends was telling me, this is my punishment, because as a kid, this was like before, I think this was like, I was like really young, this was before my brain developed the concept of empathy. I would just go outside and I would just like, I don't know if you know what love bugs are, but where I'm at, you have like 2 times in the year where there'll just be an insane amount of love bugs flying around. And they're called love bugs because they're like mating. They're like always mating with each other. So like 2 bugs will be connected to each other and they'll just like fly around and do their normal bug business. When I was a kid, there was so many of them. And I would just like pull them apart. I would just pull them apart for fun. And then at some point, I think when I was like 6 or 7, I was just like, this doesn't feel right to do. I think I wouldn't like to be a bug and have my head ripped off. So I think that's when I learned empathy. Which I guess is good, because if you don't learn that, I feel like it's probably normal to not initially understand empathy as a kid. But if you never develop it, if you never develop that other living creatures can feel stuff just like me, if you never develop that, that's when you become like a serial killer. So I'm glad I nipped that in the bud early. But anyway, that whole part in Pantheon 5 is my punishment for killing love bugs and ripping them apart while they're trying to fuck when I was like 7. I don't know. I think this is another thing about Hollow Knight. I think a lot of people who don't like it might just not like bugs. Like, there are a lot of people, if you can believe it, who don't like the art style of Hollow Knight. And I can't understand that, but my only guess is that there are just people who don't like bugs. And so you have an art style that's like entirely bug themed. People are going to be like, well, I don't care. This doesn't look good to me. But I love bugs. Bugs are awesome. The only bugs I don't like, I guess, are very typical bug to hate, but mosquitoes and also wasps. I just have like wasp trauma. I know there are lots of wasp defenders online, and I have been fucking attacked so many times as a kid by wasps. I remember as a kid just going outside and being attacked by wasps non-stop in the summers because I had like a swing set that was made out of wood, and wasps love to build their nests in your swing set. So if you're trying to go down the swing set and the wasp will sting you, that's not very fun. I think one time I got stung right below the eye by a wasp, and that was so fucking scary. I was like, I almost got blinded, which I don't know how true. Maybe, I guess a wasp could blind you if it stung you right in the eye. But anyway, this isn't a wasp, this is a moth. Very, very scary moth. That sucks. And we're gonna beat the shit out of her. I don't know, I kind of go back and forth on whether or not I actually like this fight. I think I like it more than I don't like it. But also, I can't tell how much of it is, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Stockholm Syndrome? It's not that's not a word, it's like a term, but I feel like I've been Stockholm syndromed into liking this boss. But actually I no-hit it here, I think. The first phase, at least. I don't know how or if you would no-hit phase 2. I guess I do know. It's just you would have to practice a lot. Phase 2 is so rough. Or at least I had like a really rough time with it until I kind of learned to stop being a baby and actually chase down Absolute Radiance. There's like a bad way you can do it, and then there's like a good way you can do it. This is really rough timing, having the spike shoot from both sides of the screen one after the other. That's the really hard part about this fight, is that attacks can overlap or follow each other in like really fucked up ways. With Nightmare King, that never happens. Nightmare King has like a pace to it. Absolute Radiance can be really easy or very hard, and usually very hard, depending on what RNG you get with her attacks. But the fight isn't really RNG based. You can be good enough to just beat the fight no matter what happens, you know. Unless like a glitch happens. I've seen glitches happen where someone falls and then it triggers phase free prematurely, and that just fucks you over. And I couldn't imagine having that happen during a Pantheon run. I think I would just uninstall the game if that happened. But yeah, I'm actually doing pretty good for phase 2. I haven't been hit a lot. I'm already back at full health. But yeah, the finale for this fight is crazy. I did last night. I was gonna say, if I remember correctly, yes, if I didn't just do this last night. So I know exactly what happens. But I don't know. Absolute Radiance makes me scared. Because on one hand, I feel like the bosses in Silksong are just going to be better overall. Because Hornet has that crazy advanced moveset. So there's just a lot more you can do in terms of complexity. I feel like with Hollow Knight, because the Knight's moveset is so kind of simple, right? To make the bosses hard, they kind of have to pull out a lot of bullshit to make the bosses hard. And so the harder the bosses are, the less fun they get, with some exceptions like Nightmare King and Pure Vessel. And there's stuff like Absolute Radiance and Markov, which are just like really rough. And as you can see, yeah, one mask at the very precipice of the Pantheon. I was stressing the hell out here so bad. This is also why I didn't want to do a live commentary on this, because what would you even say here? What's there to talk about? Nothing to talk about in that moment. But yeah, we beat her ass. There we go, Shade Lord. Will this guy appear in Silksong? I don't think he will, but I hope it's true. I think I just put my controller down. Because I was so tired after that. I just put my controller down. I guess I just wanted to see this. Just rub it in. Just rub it in a little bit. But yeah, that's crazy satisfying. Felt good to finally see that after like 6 years of waiting to see that. I mean, I had already seen it on like YouTube, but it felt good to see that for like real, you know. Yeah, I got the Delicate Flower version just because there's no way the Delicate Flower won't play into the lore of Silksong. There's no way. I'm sure it's gonna come up again, so I figured I'd get that version. But yeah, Godseeker's mascara is melting off. So sad for him. Yeah, that's just kind of crazy. The flower just deletes Void, I guess. I don't know if it deletes anything else. I assume it's just Void, but I guess I really don't know. And then this is the crazy part. Will we get payoff to this? Probably not, but I really hope so. Hornet and the Hollow Knight. Man, I don't think we're ever gonna get a payoff to that, but yeah. That's Pantheon of Hallownest, and man, it felt so good. It felt so good to finally 100% Hollow Knight after all these years. I think in addition, I also did Path of Pain years ago, which isn't part of the 100. I guess 112%. I don't think Pantheon 5 is either, but it is an achievement that you have to get if you want to get like 100% achievements, right? And Path of Pain isn't. But Path of Pain is pretty fun. I'm not sure that if I should be excited or scared for whatever Path of Pain equivalent there is in Silksong. I imagine there will be one in like the Citadel or something. But wow, 8 minutes. Right now it's 8 minutes until Silksong comes out. Doesn't feel real. I've said that before earlier in the video, and I'll say it again. It doesn't feel real. And I don't know. Again, I'm like excited in a way where it's less that I'm excited because I've been waiting for so long. It's you kind of can't keep up being super hyped for 6 years, but you're kind of excited still in like a low key kind of way. Like I know like the terminology for Silksong fans is like, were you a believer or were you a doubter? I was always neither. I was like an acceptor. I was the person who was like, it'll be out when it's out, and I'm fine with that. They can take however long they need to take, as long as it's good in the end. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be worth it. I don't know. I kind of doubt it's going to be bad. It would be funny if it was bad, in a sick, twisted kind of way, but yeah, it was good to finally do something like this. I would love to do more live commentaries in the future. Like, well, I guess not live commentaries, but like commentaries where I talk over gameplay footage in a similar manner to someone like Saint Riot. I don't know if any of y'all know who that is, but he's a guy who does mostly like From Software PvP content, and he'll just like talk over footage he gets while streaming. And the way he talks is equivalent to like, how did someone put it? Like schizo slam poetry. But anyway, I don't know. Felt nice to see that. We'll meet again soon on the road ahead, they say. But this is another thing. Mr. Mushroom. I almost forgot about Mr. Mushroom. I can't wait to see Mr. Mushroom in Silksong. We better get some payoff to this moment. This fucking to be continued. We better get some payoff to that. Come on. But yeah, 5 minutes. 5 minutes until it's out. So I think I'll end it here. Thank you if you've made it this far to the very end, listening to my ramblings. Thank you so much, and hope you enjoy Silksong if you play it.